So I was introduced to Mathew Bowyer through a mutual friend named Christopher Glew, who's a marijuana lawyer, and Chris doesn't do any federal work. So he called me up and he said, my pal, Mathew Bowyer, has been raided by the feds, and can you come over and meet him? So we went over to his house that Saturday afternoon. I met him and Nicole and his son and his father-in-law, and we sat at the kitchen counter, and he told me what was going on. He said he'd been raided by the FBI, IRS, and Homeland Security, that they had seized a bunch of money, chips, Nicole's purses, which I was personally very upset about. And I really, at that point in time, did not know anything about bookmaking, about illegal bookmaking, or how it worked. Chris kind of filled me in a little bit because he's known Matt. They do jujitsu together and they've pals. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris was one of Matt's clients. And it was a very new world to me. I really didn't understand how any of it worked. But he hired me, and that was how it started. That was how I met him. So I called the U.S. Attorney's Office, let them know that I was representing them. When somebody is raided by the feds, it is always wise to reach out to the U.S. Attorney's Office so that you're not just sitting there waiting for the shoe to drop. You're not waiting for, Damocles' sword. You know that you have a little bit of control over what happens next. And I did know that they wanted Matt to cooperate, which means they wanted him to give them information about other parties and assist in the prosecution of these other individuals, entities. You can read between the lines. I'm not really supposed to talk about it because the investigation is ongoing. And that is actually why Matt's sentence was supposed to be delayed again and again, and he just wanted to get it over with, so he was sentenced at the end of August. And he said, look, if I have to do time, it's fine. I just need to get back to my life. But so I reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and what that does is that it prevents him from actually being arrested. So as he was raided and all of these agents descended on his house, what would happen in an arrest is the same thing. They would come out guns blazing, 30 or 40 guys, marshals, agents, and they would arrest him and take him into custody, and then he'd have to wait in custody until his initial court appearance, where we would try to agree to get him out on bond. And bond in federal court is very different. They don't use bail bondsmen, so you have to either have somebody who's going to sign for you like a surety, or you have to say, I have $100,000 in equity in my home, I'm really willing to post my home. Those are the different possibilities, or cash, if somebody wanted to deposit cash with the court, which they would get back at the end of the day. But these are things that we propose to the court, and then the court decides if they are going to accept our proposal along with conditions. Sometimes it's an ankle monitor. Certainly for Matt, it was no gambling, no bookmaking, and pay your taxes, things like that. So we avoid arrest when we are proactive, and then we also get an agreement. Like, yeah, he can come in on a summons, and then we'll agree to a bond, and he can leave that afternoon. So it's a much less stressful situation for somebody like Matt.